If someone is born into a family where everyone is overweight, they aren't necessarily born overweight, but they are cultured to be overweight.
As you were saying that, I was thinking, at what cost? Because that's a full-time job.
No, it's not. People like this that are disingenuous because she must know it's not all or nothing. There's a gradual middle ground that you can reach.
Today, we're gonna have a conversation with fit women versus plus size women.
So as you heard the lady say, today's video, we are going over fat versus fit when it comes to the mindset, how your body gets the way it is, how much is in your control, which is always going to be an interesting kind of topic. But this video in particular, I thought it was interesting to react to because previously I have actually done a video where I reacted to the Jubilee version of this, where some of the same cast members are still there, such as this lady. But the thing about this one I thought was quite interesting from the few minutes I watched was that one, they have actual hardcore, like proper fitness people in it. The Jubilee version, a lot of them are mainly just influencers and just regular people, whereas they have like proper athletes in here. So I feel like their mindset will be more interesting. And the fact we have some people that are in the past video that are also in this one as well, I thought it'd be interesting to see if their mindsets change, because this girl in particular was adamant that she's not obese.
Oh, what's obese?
Obese.
If you see me, you consider me obese?
I wouldn't say that you're obese.
Like her mindset in the last video was definitely all over the place.
And the first prompt is, your physique is in your control.
So straight away, it's off the bat, the fact that she's got the green thing saying it is under your control is a big kind of change from the last video she was in, because in the last one, she was deflecting a lot, but she basically really distanced herself from having any culpability as to why she's that big. Because we're not talking about a little bit chubby, we're talking about like she's really overweight. So the fact she's putting the green thing up shows improvement.
I would say the only thing that's not in our control is our genetics, our hormones, which play a huge part for females, and our environment. I mean, environment can be in control a little bit, but it really depends.
I agree. Also having like a stable state of mind, at least for people who are overweight, at least in my life. So there's times that I'm really stressed out and I tend to do things that are not healthy for me. And that comes even from not working out to sleeping in to avoiding exercise, and it's not healthy. So I think a lot of factors can contribute to you being overweight. It doesn't just necessarily have to do with nutrition and food, but it is a good point to have a good nutrition system around you, even family-wise, you know.
Commendable. Like, as I said, we ain't dunking on these people. The last video, I was kind of hard on her because she was somewhat delusional. It seems like she has definitely learned a lot over the last, I guess it's been almost a year, and has definitely got in a position, or mindset at least, that she can probably start incrementally making changes. And if I'm being completely honest, I think she may have lost a little bit of weight. She's still obese, but she looks a little bit smaller in the last video, or it's the fact that she at least hasn't worn a top that like has the belly squishing out. But salutes, when someone's mindset shifts that much, trust me, there's no harm that can come from it. All that can happen is at least you're aware of the situation, and now you got to little by little try and fix the things and plug the holes that's causing this issue.
I think access and knowledge is a huge thing too. Like, do you live somewhere where access to more nutritious and healthy foods isn't as accessible? And then also the environment that you grow up in, like what does your family do?
That is very true what she said, because one of the key factors for someone being overweight is their environment, especially in the household. If you have really overweight parents, chances are that you'll be overweight too, because the lifestyle habits, the food that they eat, that kind of stuff will basically trickle down into you, which is why oftentimes if you see like a little fat kid running around that's like around 10 years old, most times the parents are normally kind of thick too, because it's just the social factors that come into play. It's not technically just genetics, you know what I mean? Genetics may play a small part, but if you see really obese people, it's because of lifestyle.
And also consider what you're trying to lose weight for. Is it healthy, or is it because you feel like you need to look better? I want to lose weight to stay healthy.
So I agree with what she said. It's always important to know why you're losing the weight, but I also don't think it's a bad thing if you lose weight, not necessarily just to be healthier, but because you want to look better. Because most oftentimes, if you want to do the extremes, someone really obese compared to someone a regular size, but in general, you are going to look better when you're thinner. Not to say skinny or anorexic, but if you're an average sized person, you're most likely going to look better usually than someone really obese. But in general, I don't think it's bad if you want to change your appearance. People go to the gym sometimes, not just for the mental and stress relief. A lot of people that start the gym, me being included, I went to the gym because I wanted to build muscle and ideally attract more girls. That was one of the key factors. That's not really a bad thing. The same way how you go to a store and you may purchase certain clothing to dress and look the best, to accentuate your features, or just to look cooler in general. I don't think those things are necessarily bad. Now, if those are the only reasons, then maybe you get into like a gray area, because you shouldn't just be doing it for other people. At the root, it should be for yourself. But I don't think if those are one of the reasons, that's a bad thing.
You said that you were thin at some point. What contributed to the weight gain?
I was drinking a lot. I was drinking, and also I do smoke. And back in the day, I didn't understand it. I didn't want to accept it. That being intoxicated was driving me to overeat, because when I was sober, I wouldn't get cravings to eat, and it was more after I had drank and I had smoked, and probably if I hadn't had a meal in all day.
A lot of people do that stuff with stress eating. They may not eat all day because they're busy and stressed, but then at some point they'll sit down, eat loads of food, and the hunger signals are still firing, so they then order something and they get eat more and more and more and they get more weight. So it's good that she got to this position where she can actually, as I said earlier, like acknowledge what's going on so you can fix it. But it's interesting because she didn't mention this, I'm pretty sure, in the last Jubilee video at all. Like, she really did a lot of deflecting, and it just shows a lot of personal growth. Salutes to this lady, because this is leaps and bounds better than she was in the previous video.
Question for the ladies on this side. Do you believe that you can be born overweight?
This is when you start getting into the meat and potatoes. So they're asking specifically the fit people on the fitter side, do you believe people can be born to be overweight, like genetically prone to be fat? Me personally, I do believe, and I do, well, not believe, that it's true that some people can technically be prone to be a little bit thicker from genetics. You know what I mean? Obese is a different kettle of fish. But in terms of being a little bit chubby by default, yeah, I think it's like a fat cells is a very layman way of calling it. Or just naturally may have more mental signals for them to have cues to eat more.
What are your thoughts?
I do believe that you're with genetics. You can be born with a certain amount of I don't want to say fat cells, but kind of sort of in a way. So genetics will play a small role in that. But at the same time, you can, besides your height, switch those genetics. You know, you can do things to help prevent whatever genetically your disposition is.
In essence, even if you come from a family where most people are probably a little bit thicker and they say genetically we're predisposed to being thick, especially if you're someone that's from like an ethnic background, like Caribbean food, Indian food, Chinese food, very high calorie food, you can, if you eat it frequently, you tend to usually be a little bit heavier. But the way to combat that is you change your lifestyle habits to basically accommodate that. So, for example, rather than having that food every single day, you may have it once a week. You may make sure to go on walks per day. You exercise. You mix in other healthy foods as well at lower calories, kind of offset it. And this is how you kind of change your circumstances. So if you stay doing the exact same thing as all your overweight family members, lifestyle and food-wise, then yeah, you're probably going to end up like them. And then sooner or later, you'll start telling your children, oh, we're just genetically like this. Or you can kind of change things moving forward. You end that cycle of overweightness.
I've been involved in bodybuilding, and in doing that, I've had the opportunity and the choice to change my physique. And so with that experience, I believe there is a lot in our control in bodybuilding. You are learning, okay, what are my genetic limitations, but what is under my control? And I believe that kind of taught me a lot of your physique is in your control, and the things that are outside of your control is kind of like in life. You're not going to worry about that. You're just going to do with what you have in your control. And if someone is born into a family where everyone is overweight, everyone has an unhealthy lifestyle, they are more likely scientifically, psychologically to carry on. It's the nature versus nurture. So really, they aren't necessarily born overweight, but they are cultured to be overweight.
That was almost like a mic drop moment. It was definitely direct, to the point, and very like a mindset of dedication. And I think it's great because I agree with everything she said. But in general, she's saying that you can work your way out of these circumstances. If you choose to stay in that and you're overweight, then that's on you. And yeah, salutes to her, because yeah, couldn't have said it better. That was great.
And ladies on this side, have you ever struggled with weight loss despite putting in effort?
Good question.
Absolutely. I think all of us up here can relate to that in one way or the other. And interesting, because I heard from the other side that you were a bodybuilder and you were able to change the way that your body displays and kind of break out of that mold. And as you were saying that, I was thinking, at what cost? Because that's a full-time job.
No, it's not. It's not a full-time job. Maybe to be an elite bodybuilder, to step on stage, then yeah, that is a lot of effort and it does take a lot of discipline. But someone like this lady, come on, like, let's be real. Do we think this lady is going to be trying to get that level? It's not like one or the other. You don't have to go 0 or 100. You could go 50, you can go 60, you can go 70. She can't use the excuse of, oh, you doing all that work sounds like a full-time job. I'm not going to be able to do it or maintain it. You find somewhere in the middle. Say her around 250 pounds, right? Or even probably bigger than that, probably at 300 pounds. There's no point in her saying, I want to get down to 100 pounds because it's probably just not going to be sustainable. She should say, you know what? I'm going to get down to 200 pounds and see how I feel there. Can I maintain that? If I can go a little bit further, let's get down to 180. These are the smart increments that overweight people should do. However, these people try use the excuse of, I've got to get really thin or really whatever. And because that's too hard for me, because of my genetics and my lifestyle, I'm just not going to try. And that's a cop-out. It's a cop-out. I want to hear the rest of what she says. But, you know, honestly, that sounds like an absolute cop-out. It sounds like she has basically she's tried once or twice, well, probably more than once or twice, but she's tried in the past to lose weight. Whatever dramatic, extreme thing she tried failed. It felt too hard. And for that reason, she's been burned. And she's basically not going to do any of those things again because it felt too hard. But the chances are, as I said, she probably did something incorrectly or too drastic to the point where it wasn't sustainable. People don't like having to wait a duration to get to their goal. They want to try and get there as soon as possible, which is why they do all these dumb things like Atkins or Slim Tea, was it Booty Tea? All these little scams and fitness criminal activities trying to lose weight fast. They fall prey to them because they want to get it quick. So let's just hear what else she says. But in general, pure cop-out. It's like everything they said went over her head and she just got her own conclusion. Terrible.
And a lot of us have families and 2 or 3 jobs and have so many things going on in our life that changing fighting with our body on a regular basis is no longer an option. And my entire childhood, I was a fat kid. I was on a diet from the age of like 5 or 6. I didn't even understand the concept of it.
The chances are her parents didn't even understand the concept of it. For example, my parents, as of now, in 2025, they got grown kids. I'm into the fitness, into nutrition. So's my little brother. My dad still don't know that much about nutrition. Neither does my mom. They go on things like Slimming World, where they don't use calories, they use points because it's much more simple for someone to understand. They don't ever learn the true principles of nutrition and calories in and calories out. They're just learning what points add up to losing weight because it's kind of like the dumb version of like getting in shape. So I'm almost saying this grown woman back in the past where nutrition wasn't a big factor, people are trying to put food on the plate to feed you, they ain't thinking the right thing. They're just thinking portions. They're probably giving you shitty food and just trying to reduce portions, or the worst thing, which is give you the same food, but just try to make you run more. She did say diet, so I'll give her their credit, but their version of a diet was probably just reducing your portion size and making you hungry. They weren't doing volume eating. They weren't switching out this and giving you a much more bulked up plate of various different foods to fill you up. They were probably just, instead of giving you a full big plate, they halved it. So instantly you're hungry. So yeah, people like this that are disingenuous or naive, because it could be that you just don't know any better, which is fair enough. But I think there's a little bit of disingenuous there because she must know it's not all or nothing. There's a gradual middle ground that you can reach.
I just knew that I was in ballet and I was bigger than everyone, and there was a recital and I had to lose weight to fit in, to look like everybody else. And so that's when I learned that my body was a problem. And, you know, everything else aside, the fact that I was a big kid and I continued to be a big child into adulthood, I had spent that whole time fighting my body, thinking there was something wrong with it, unable to change it. Nothing that I did was able to change it.
The problem that she's saying is that you shouldn't be fighting your body, you should be working with your body. Because at the end of the day, the same way how I vehemently hate people say that, I live in a larger body. You need to not disassociate from what is yourself. You know what I mean? You're not living in a larger body. You're someone that's big. You're someone that has a big body. That's basically, you have a large body. But it's you at the end of the day, and you should be working with it to try and make yourself feel healthier, be able to move more, and in general, create longevity, and it will create happiness. You know what I mean? Like, let's be real. If you're 300, 400 pounds, if you got down to 200 pounds, trust me, your whole life will be different. It will be different. I don't believe if any... Well, Ozempic's almost a proof of this. Like, I was going to say, if I could do a magic genie wish and make you lose weight, like 100 pounds in a second, would you do it? Most of them, if not all of them, would do it. And Ozempic being a new drug, which is quite expensive, they're all taking it to lose weight because they realize that if I can lose weight in an easier fashion, regardless of what potential side effects may happen, I'm going to go for it. This woman here, I just see a lot of... I think it's a lot of trauma. Let me put it that way. I don't like using that word too tough, but in general, it's a lot of issues. Obviously, from being younger, probably being put on various poor level diets, as I mentioned, or her parents trying to run her ragged by maybe doing sports to try and lose down the weight, which isn't the best thing. If they were educated in nutrition, they could probably have had her losing weight while still feeling full and balancing in, like, you know, the odd treat, rather than say, no, you can't have that. So I feel like there's a lot of trauma from childhood. And during teens and adulthood, I don't think she ever learned how to eat properly. I truly don't even think to this day she probably knows, because most people don't. So it's not to call them dumb, but until this fitness trend and fitness wave became more popular in like 2018, there wasn't this much information online. You couldn't just... Like, you could search for it, I guess, but it wasn't so easily available. Now you got it on TikTok, you got Instagram, you got YouTube. I'd probably say YouTube over the other two, because short form content, usually they skip corners or they chat shit. But there's still many resources that you can find that will push you in the right direction. So it's not as hard as it was when she was probably younger. But as of right now, yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of dodging accountability here due to past issues that she's had.
So as an adult, I can pursue health, I can pursue exercise, I can pursue the things that make me feel good, but my battle with my body is done. I don't have it in me anymore, and I want to spend my time on things that actually matter in my life.
Your health matters, your body matters. Her saying that bit, I don't agree with. The bit before, I do feel for her, because it sounds like everything she's tried, which is probably the wrong things, has just took the energy out of it, took the wind out of her sails, and she just doesn't feel like she can improve. I guarantee, if she went with a real, sustainable, realistic coach, did this gradual over the period of year or maybe even years, she could get to a position where she maintains a lower weight with very little effort. The problem is, these people want to do it in like a month or 2 months or 3 months. How big she is, that's not a 6-month process. Doing that in 6 months is going to be quite vigorous. You do this over a year, 2 years, she can get down like 100 or something pounds, and it will feel like a breeze. Walking more, eating higher protein foods, less junk food, less Uber Eats, and Uber driving as well, walk more. These will help.
And I think that I can pursue my life goals without also trying to pursue thinness. That's really unattainable for me.
What did you do when you were trying to attain what you felt was appropriate for your body?
Restriction, which as a child leads to binge. You know, It's just a natural progression when you restrict a child. And exercise, you know, nothing unusual. I think around high school, I started getting prescribed weight loss drugs. That was like the trendy thing. And that was not, that didn't have a positive outcome at all. So pretty much all the basic things you would think.
Note that she never actually said any specific thing. It was just very vague. She spoke about drugs, so she used drugs. She probably made her feel terrible in general, like using various weight loss drugs, especially ones from back a day. Not a good sign. She just simply says restriction. She doesn't specify how that restriction occurred, so I'm just going to think that she just cut out foods. Like, for example, the things like, oh, I'm not going to eat no carbs, or I'm going to go no sugar, all those extreme type diets. She never said the words calorie deficit, gradually control my calories, lowering it down, and I binge back. She didn't say any of that jazz. She just said restriction, which does mean that she likely did do all the things I mentioned. And you can't do all of those and then say like it's impossible, because if you consistently do the wrong things, I don't think that goes in the column of truly trying, because yes, you put in some effort, which is still commendable, but you didn't put the research time. And it's almost like when you're doing work at school. If you start writing away, doing your little coursework right, with no research, whatever you come up with is probably going to be shit. But if you spend that extra day or two researching, making a plan, and actually structuring things in the right way so you start on the right foundation, then you're more likely to like finish with something with a high quality work. And that is how like your weight loss journey should be. You shouldn't just be throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. You should have an actual structured plan. If you're someone really overweight like this, you should really map it out and make sure it's realistic. At the bare minimum, if you don't want to hire a coach throughout the whole duration, at least one time in it, or get someone you know that's really good with fitness, have them see your plan and let them kind of analyze it and see if it's actually achievable, or is it like ridiculous? Because you may think it's achievable and they'll look at it and go, nah, you can't do that. That timeline's too short, or what you're expecting to get to here is not realistic. I think we need to put in some more little shorter goals that you can reach to keep you motivated to hit the other goals. There's a bunch of things that you can do. For example, all the clients I've ever had that are really obese like she is, the way I train them is totally different to the way I train someone that's just trying to lose like 20 pounds. Someone like this needs a whole lifestyle change. So I'll put in things like, we want to get you outside walking at least 3-4 times a week for at least 30 minutes. We want to get you at least introducing these things into your diet. I don't even straight go into like a major calorie deficit unless they are ridiculously overeating. Like someone I had that was eating like 5,000, 6,000 calories a day. Yeah, we cut that down to like 4,000. It's a 2,000 drop, but that's literally like a meal of like KFC. We just cut that out and they still were having quite a lot of food because 4,000 calories is a lot. We did that and gradually cut down. And then when we started getting a bit lower and they're moving more and they start feeling more motivated to do stuff, then we started introducing. I had one client, he was only training 2 times per week because he had anxiety about going to the gym, and he still lost over the course of 12 weeks. I think he lost like 20 something pounds, and that was from like us improving his diet for the most part because he was only training twice. But yeah, in general, the biggest part of the pie though was we just started doing smart swaps for his food, like taking out a lot of junk food or frozen foods that you buy from the store, like frozen nuggets and stuff like that, and he started cooking foods. And he was surprised at how full he could feel from cooking foods compared to the nuggets and stuff he was eating. So I'm saying all that to say that there's many ways to skin a cat. Sometimes you need someone that knows more than you to kind of look over your plan if you've created one and then adjust it to actually see success. Sorry for the long tangent. I'm really passionate about this kind of stuff. But anyways, carry on.
I think it's also a contributing factor with women that actually are afraid to lift weights, because the more muscle you have, the higher your metabolism, the more fat you're going to burn. But what happens is a lot of people go into the gym and they think, I'm going to go on the treadmill for 2 hours, and then I'm going to cut all my carbs, I'm going to cut all my sugar, I'm going to cut. They're actually at a worse level when they do all that, because when you do that, you're not losing just fat, but you're losing the muscle you have on your body. And that muscle we need. That muscle, I can sit here right now and I'm burning calories because of the fact of how much muscle I have on my body.
All right, I had to include this clip. You may notice I'm wearing different clothing. This is because I am from the future, but I watched further into the video and I felt like this was important to put in part 1 of this video because I'm doing a part 2. But in general, as you just said, like, building muscle is important to help improving your physique. The lady that we saw earlier, the one in the red, that was moaning about like there's various issues and it's out of control, it's too hard. She doesn't understand that. She was probably one of those people that was literally trying to do excessive cardio and not doing the right things in nutrition, not getting enough protein, which is why she suffered. Whereas if she implemented what she just mentioned of going to the gym, braving the weight section, or maybe purchasing some dumbbells to do at home, gradually building muscle, these things help your metabolic rate so you can burn calories easier at rest. So even if she was on a regular day, she's sitting on the sofa for 1 hour doing nothing, if she had more muscle in her body and did the exact same thing, she would burn more calories at rest because she has muscle in her frame. So it's important. It will help you, especially in old age as well. When you're an old person walking upstairs, you want to have nice, dense, strong bones, and that's what going to the gym does. But anyways, thanks for watching the video. There's a few more clips of this I probably will cover, but I'll do them in a separate video. Let me know what you thought of the video. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Peace.